Comiskey Park fits about 40,000 people, maybe more. But the White Sox are drawing about 15,000 people per game.
Desperate to sell tickets, the organization turns to their young head of promotions, Mike Veeck.
He was very outgoing, very in touch with what was happening in youth-oriented movements.
Veeck racks his brain, trying to conjure up an unconventional gimmick that will fill the bleachers. One day, he finds inspiration while listening to a local disc jockey named Steve Dahl. From his perch at Chicago's WLUP-FM, the outspoken Dahl preaches to rock and roll purists about the threat posed by a musical fad, disco.
By 1979, disco is at the absolute zenith of its popularity. It's sort of infusing every element of popular culture.
Many radio stations are abandoning the sound of loud guitars for the smooth beats of disco. But Dahl is determined to protect the institution of rock and roll and is waging all-out sonic warfare.
He'll play a disco record, then all of a sudden yank the needle across the vinyl. The rock and roll kids of Chicago, the ones who were afraid that disco was going to take away their Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd forever, couldn't get enough of his antics. He was their savior.
Hoping to lure Dahl's legions of followers to the ballpark, Veeck reaches out to the loudmouth DJ. And together, the two hatch an outrageous plan to blow up a large crate of disco records in the middle of Comiskey Park's center field.
This idea was called Disco Demolition Night.
Fans will be charged only 98 cents for admission, as long as they bring a disco record to detonate.
Mike Veeck felt that it would be an incredible success.
On the evening of July 12, 1979, Comiskey Park opens its doors for a doubleheader between the White Sox and the Detroit Tigers. Metalheads and rock fans from all over Chicago pour into the stadium and hand disco records to the ushers.
The ballpark sold out. Mike Veeck felt vindicated. This was a huge success.
By the end of the first game, the stadium is swarming with thousands of teens, anxiously awaiting their leader's arrival. And he does not disappoint.
Steve Dahl comes out onto the field and just starts yelling into the microphone, "Party!" And, that gets the kids riled up. The kids are all chanting, "Disco sucks."
Then, a record-filled crate laced with explosives is wheeled onto the field. It's the moment everyone's been waiting for.
Dahl detonated the explosives. All of a sudden, it was like a sonic boom had gone off. Records were launched 250 feet in the air.
Two of these records are now on display at the Baseball Reliquary in the Arcadia Public Library.
The fans went absolutely wild. This was what they'd come for. This was, the total climax of the evening, and this was awesome.
But no one could have expected what happens next.
A couple of fans decided to jump over the left field and slide into second base.
The scene quickly descends into pure chaos.
There's a bonfire going in center field. There were fans climbing down from the upper deck using the foul poles to get down. This was complete anarchy.
How will this rock and roll riot be stopped? It's July 12th, 1979. The Chicago White Sox have lured thousands of rock and roll fans to their stadium with the promise of destroying disco records in a fiery explosion. But when the raucous revelers overtake the field, it becomes a virtual war zone. So can this unruly mob of rock and rollers be wrangled? After nearly 40 minutes of mayhem, White Sox management is forced to take drastic measures.
They called the cops. When Chicago's finest showed up, the field cleared incredibly quickly.
Then, game officials survey the damage.
The field was in completely unplayable condition. The second game was ruled a forfeit.
When the smoke finally clears, 37 fans are arrested, and the White Sox are forced to postpone 3 games due to the destruction. But perhaps no one feels the impact more than Disco Demolition Night brainchild Mike Veeck, who leaves the team less than a year later.
After this, you would never work in the major leagues again.
Though it may not have breathed new life into the faltering White Sox, many argue that Veeck's stunt signaled the death knell for an entire musical genre.
A lot of people claim that Disco Demolition Night was the event that killed disco.
Today, these warped 7-inch records on display at the Baseball Reliquary serve as a reminder of the night disco struck out.